I live alone in a small studio apartment above a diner. It's not much, but it's quiet, and I don't mind the smell of bacon in the morning. The building's old, the kind with creaky floors and stained ceiling tiles, but the rent's cheap and no one bothers me here. Until about a month ago, I never really noticed anything strange. Maybe the occasional flicker in the bathroom light or weird clanking noises in the walls, but I chalked it up to bad wiring and rusty pipes. But then, one night I was brushing my teeth and I heard it, a voice whispering. At first, I thought it was from outside. The diner sometimes gets late-night delivery guys or sketchy customers yelling on the sidewalk. But this was inside. It was coming from the bathroom sink. I turned off the faucet and leaned in. The room went dead quiet, except for the faint drip of water and this low, garbled whispering, like someone talking from way, way down in the pipes. I froze, then it stopped. I laughed it off, told myself it was just air pressure or my tired brain playing tricks. I went to bed, but the next night it came back. This time, I could almost make out words, something like, "Can you hear me?" Or maybe, "Help me?" It was hard to tell. It was like trying to understand someone underwater. I didn't say anything back. I just stared at the drain for a while, then walked out and left the bathroom light on all night. The third night is when it got worse. I was in bed, trying to fall asleep, when I heard it again. Not in the bathroom this time, in the kitchen sink. Louder, clearer. "Why won't you talk to me?" I sat up, heart pounding. The voice sounded like a woman, but something about it was off. Like it had too many echoes, like it was being stretched and pulled through miles of pipe before it reached me. I didn't answer. I didn't move. Eventually, it stopped. The next day, I called the landlord and asked if there was anything weird with the plumbing. He brushed me off, told me the whole building makes noise, especially in the winter, but it's summer, and the voice keeps coming back. A few nights ago, it spoke again, but this time, it said my name. Eli. It whispered it over and over. I hadn't told anyone in the building my name, not even the landlord. I finally answered. I don't know what came over me, but I was so exhausted and freaked out I just whispered, "What do you want?" And it went quiet for like 10 seconds. Then it said, "Come closer." I backed away and slept in my car that night. The next morning, I almost convinced myself to break the lease, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to know what it was. I thought, Maybe there's a speaker or some psycho neighbor playing a prank. So I did something stupid. I removed the bathroom sink cover, unscrewed the drain cap, took a flashlight and pointed it down into the pipe. Nothing. Just darkness and stale water. Then, something moved, a ripple, a shadow. I dropped the flashlight and stumbled back, scraping my hand on the edge of the cabinet. And from the dark drain, I heard it again. "Don't leave me down here." I didn't respond. I just backed out and closed the door. I haven't used that sink since, but now, the voice has started showing up in other places. I heard it in the shower drain this morning, just humming, soft, tuneless, but definitely human. And last night, I could have sworn it was coming from the toilet. That same stretched, watery voice, "Come closer." I'm losing sleep. I keep every drain in the apartment covered now, stuffed with towels, even duct tape. I use the diner's bathroom downstairs. I don't care how weird it looks, but the voice is getting more persistent. It calls out at all hours, sometimes angry, sometimes pleading. Today, it said something new. "I see you when you sleep. I don't know what's down there. I don't want to know. But part of me, the dumb part, wants to ask it who it is, how it knows my name, why it sounds like it's trapped under miles of water and metal. Maybe tomorrow, I'll go to the hardware store. Buy something industrial, pour it down, bleach, acid, whatever. But deep down, I don't think it'll help. Because this afternoon, I came home and found something on the bathroom sink. A tiny, wet handprint on the outside of the drain. At first, I just stared at it. It was too small to be mine, too delicate. The fingers were long, thin, and the water wasn't dripping from the faucet. It was seeping upward from the drain, like the hand had pushed out. I wiped it off with a towel and stood there for a minute trying to breathe. That's when I noticed something else. The mirror. There was a message written in the steam. Even though I hadn't used the shower that day, 3 words, "Let me out." I ran out of the apartment. That was 2 days ago. I've been staying at a motel ever since. Haven't gone back. But this morning, I got a call from my landlord. I told the landlord I'm not coming back. He can keep the deposit. Wherever that voice came from, it followed the pipes, and I don't think it's done looking for a way out. I moved into my uncle's old place last summer, out in rural Oregon. He passed suddenly, left the property to my mom, and since I was between jobs and tired of the city, I figured I'd stay a while. The house is old, a little overgrown, but peaceful. Just trees and silence for miles. At least, that's what I thought at first. About 2 weeks in, I noticed something strange behind the backyard fence. A narrow path leading into the woods. It was almost hidden by underbrush, but not completely. Like someone wanted it to stay hidden, but not invisible. I asked around in town about the trail. A guy at the hardware store just shook his head. "That land back there isn't on the county records anymore," he said. "Got scrubbed a few decades ago. Locals call it the Green Hollow." "Why?" He paused. "Because things disappear in it." I laughed it off, but that night I couldn't stop thinking about it. Disappear? What does that even mean? So the next morning, I did what every idiot in a horror story does. I grabbed a flashlight, some water, and followed the trail in. The woods were quiet, too quiet. I've hiked before, and even the stillest forests have birds, bugs, something. But this place was just dead, like the air wasn't moving. About 15 minutes in, I noticed the trees looked wrong. Not sick, exactly, just too tall, too straight, like they'd been planted with intention. Same size, same distance apart. It felt man-made, controlled. And then I found the carvings. Symbols on the trees, spirals, slashes, crude shapes. They weren't fresh, but they weren't old either. One of them looked like a stick figure with no face, arms raised, carved deeply into the bark. The further I walked, the more of them I saw. I turned around eventually, no real reason, just unease. And that's when I realized something that made my stomach drop. I couldn't hear my own footsteps anymore, not muffled, gone, like the forest was swallowing the sound. That's when I decided to leave. I retraced my steps, moved fast. But after 10 minutes, nothing looked familiar. The trees all looked the same. The carvings were gone. The trail had vanished. I kept walking in one direction, hoping I'd hit a road, a fence, anything. But the deeper I went, the more disoriented I became. And then I heard it, a branch snapping behind me. Not a random crack, deliberate, close. I turned, flashlight shaking in my hand. No one there. Another snap, now to my left. Then I saw it, between the trees, just for a second. A person, or something shaped like one. Pale, long-limbed, no face, just skin stretched over bone. Gone in an instant. I ran. I didn't care where, just ran until my legs gave out. And then, as suddenly as it started, I broke through the tree line, back in my yard, like I had taken one step and been dropped through a door. I checked my watch. I'd been gone nearly 6 hours. But here's the part that's messing with me now. That night, I heard movement outside my window. My mom wasn't home. I peeked through the blinds and saw something, standing at the edge of the tree line. Not moving, just staring. It stayed there until sunrise. It's been 3 nights now. It keeps coming back. I tried putting up cameras. They glitch whenever it's near. I called the sheriff, but there's no evidence of trespassing, and no one wants to hike out there. Today, I found something sitting on my porch. A smooth stone, same size as before, with that same faceless figure painted on top. But this time, the figure wasn't standing. It was crawling. And carved underneath in jagged letters was a new message. Let me in. I live alone. No roommates, no pets, just me. So when I woke up and found my bedroom door closed, even though I always leave it open, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Fear. I convinced myself it was nothing. Draft, maybe, just tired. But then more things started happening. Small, easy to dismiss stuff. A missing granola bar, a fork in the sink I hadn't used. My bathroom light on when I got home from work. Once or twice I swore I smelled food, something greasy, in the hallway at night. I was starting to feel like I was losing it. Then, one night, lying in bed, I heard a soft thump above me, in the attic. At first I froze. Then I laughed a little to calm myself. Probably a raccoon or a squirrel, right? The next day, I bought a cheap motion sensor camera and aimed it at the attic hatch in the hallway. 2 nights later, at 3:12 a.m., I got a motion alert. I opened the app, expecting nothing. Instead, I watched the attic hatch slowly rise an inch, pause, and then lower itself again. No face, no hand. Just the hatch, moving like someone was gently checking if the coast was clear. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I left for work, but circled back an hour later and parked down the street. At 5:47 p.m., I saw someone climb down from the attic. He was barefoot, wearing a hoodie I hadn't seen in months. He looked around calmly and walked into my kitchen. I called the cops. By the time they got there, the guy was gone. They searched the attic and found a blanket, food wrappers, and one of my old phones, still logged into my accounts. Whoever he was, he'd been watching me for a while, and he knew everything. I stayed with a friend that night, but this morning I went back to grab a few things, and taped to the inside of the attic hatch was a note, written in thin, crooked handwriting. You shouldn't have looked. I didn't want to believe it. After what happened with the attic, the blanket, the food wrappers, the note, I thought maybe I was done. That the guy was gone and I was safe. But I was wrong. The note he left was burned into my mind. You shouldn't have looked. At first, I thought it was just a threat, like he wanted me to stop snooping. But then things started getting worse. It started with small sounds, quiet whispers late at night, soft footsteps when no one was there. I tried to tell myself it was my imagination. Then I noticed my things weren't where I left them. My phone charger moved from the kitchen counter to the bathroom sink. My keys ended up in the freezer. I wasn't losing my mind. Someone was in my house. I called the police again. They came out, searched the place, top to bottom, no signs of forced entry, nothing missing. They said maybe it was an intruder with a key. I changed the locks, got new security cameras, but none of it mattered. Last night, I woke to a faint scratching noise coming from inside the walls. I got up and pressed my ear to the plaster. The sound stopped. But then I heard breathing. Not normal breathing. Slow, deliberate, like someone holding back. I pulled back and shined my flashlight toward the wall. There, carved into the plaster, were words. You shouldn't have looked. I don't know how he got in or how long he's been here. I'm scared to sleep. Every creak makes me jump. Every shadow feels like him. I'm posting this because I don't know what else to do. If you get a note like that, if you hear strange noises, don't investigate, because sometimes it's safer not to look.